Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our 10th episode of Throwbacks with SPC. I'm your host, Ricia Paul, and of course, I'm joined by my boss and able co host, Mr. John Arnold. This morning is a special morning, not just because the number of episodes that we've been able to accomplish, but we have a very special guest with us this morning. We're joined today by Ms. Lorraine O'Connor. She's part of the management team, amongst many other things, for the living legend Calypso Rose. Lorraine, Mr. Arnold, good morning and welcome.
Good
Yeah,
morning. Good
morning,
morning.
morning, morning, Lauren.
Morning, John.
So, over the years at Show Park, we've had several Calypso Rose and concert events and so on. But before we get there, Lorraine, let's go back about your background and just your experience, your rich and diverse experience in the entertainment and creative industry in Trinidad and Tobago.
So, you want me to give you a little overview?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what's interesting is that I actually left Trinidad when I was 12 to go and live in France. So I didn't spend my teenage years in Trinidad. And, well, from birth to 11, 12, while I left, I grew up really, a white girl in that kind of milieu. We went down the islands, kind of like we did. My parents weren't into that really. We always went down the islands for carnival, so I didn't really know much about my culture. So I hardly knew anything. And as time would have it, and as life would have it, when I
Wow.
was about 17 or 18, I brought some friends to Trinidad for carnival, and they were of course blown away by what they saw, and they were in the film industry in France. And when they went back, they said, "Well, we have to tell the story to the French public. We have to show them about Calypso and Steel Band," and they were blown away by the Calypso music. And so we got together, and he was a director, she was a writer, and we had one connection in Paris, a guy called William Tanifani. He was from Ghana. No, he's from Benin, and he knew more about Trinidad than I did, of course, because I didn't. And as we put the whole thing together and we talked with him and so on, and then, we actually got the funding, because France is kind of like that, they support the arts a lot. So we got funding to tell this story. And the names of the people he gave me to link with when I came back. So, this is in 1986, 87, around there. Um, he gave me names of Brother Resistance, um, Nesta Sullivan from Pamberry,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the People's Mall was very vibrant then. The People's Mall on Frederick Street was kind of the place
Yeah.
where a lot of the culture and so on was happening, the grassroots culture anyway. And also my aunts. So my dad was married to one of the sisters of Rosemary and Alison Hennessy from Vinnie Margie Restaurant, and also from TTT, who had a lot of connections. Of course, they were very much into the arts and the cultural field and so on. So when I came back here to work on this film, I rediscovered my country. I discovered the culture, the richness, it was fascinating. We interviewed David Rudder. We went to Korea and interviewed Marshall. He was 9 years old or something at the time, So we did a lot of work. I came and I rented a house, and we spent 3 months here. I just had my first child and I brought him as a baby. Well, any excuse to leave the Paris winter, huh? Come, let's be real. Um, so yes, that was really my start, my interest into, because I studied, well, my graduate degrees I did in Chinese, Mandarin Chinese. Um, Before
Oh,
China was
really?
a thing, when China was just like, and I really did it just because I was so curious, because I knew nothing about China at the time. It was still closed. And so culture and entertainment was definitely not in my planning. It was more like languages. I wanted to be a journalist,
All
all
right.
kind of ideas. But Trinidad caught me and pulled me back
Well,
home.
Lauren, you know what's really funny? I've known you all these years, and I've never heard this story.
I never, I don't know the story.
So do you speak Mandarin fluently now? Still?
Well, well, what was very interesting is that, yes, I can still converse in Mandarin.
Right,
And a
right.
couple of years ago, I was working with Mailing, our fashion designer Mailing, and
Right, yeah.
she decided to, she was approached by a local clothes company who wanted to do a cheaper line of her clothes, like a more pret-a-porter line. And they took us to China, and I went with Mailing to China. And
Ah,
everybody was talking to her in Chinese, and she don't speak a word. And then I would be the one having to jump in and translate and so on. So that was a lot. That was fun.
oh, okay. Wow. Okay. So, how did you get involved with Rose?
So Rose, so basically after doing that first film, we didn't interview Rose in that first film. But what happened is that later on, so basically I came back to live here in 91, 92. Because I felt, as I said, I fell in love with my country, with my culture, and I was like, I have this young child, if I have a choice to raise him in France, in Paris, or in
Right,
Trinidad, I chose Trinidad, and I came back, and I
right.
started to get very involved in um, film production and event production and so on. I hooked up with Tinny Mora and Carol Mora at the time. They were doing a whole series on Steel Band, and I helped them do all the research for that because now I was almost like a Steel Band aficionado because I had actually, after the film, what's so interesting is after the film, we took Cranberry on tour in Europe in 91 and 92, 2 years in a row. And they did 34 cities in 45 days or something crazy. We took them.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a huge tour. We brought the pans from Trinidad. Like, I had never done this, so it was quite ambitious. Financially, too,
That's
like,
tough. That's tough.
yeah.
That's a
But what
tough
we
thing.
did,
I did a
what,
20 city tour in Germany with Euphonic Steel Orchestra from Tobago, and we had to walk with the pans. So packing those pans every day, every night, yeah, that what you did there is not a normal thing. I know it.
yeah, well, I'm glad you know it because you were really. There's one little incident that we all laugh at today is we're sitting on the coach. So we rented this big coach, and of course we had a trailer behind with the pans, and
That's
we're on the
right, correct.
highway, and next thing we see the trailer pass the coach and head into the phone had detached. We nearly lost everything that day. And I mean,
That's so funny.
it was very formative, and it was fantastic to see the reception. If you, well, you would have seen that in Germany too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah. That's big. It's
leave
big.
villages,
It's
when you leave
big.
towns, so yeah,
Yeah.
people went crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what for me is the curious and lookers going to the bands and looking all over to try and
Yes,
figure out
underneath.
where
Yes,
is this sound really coming from? Is this
exactly.
possible? And they're doing all kinds of, that used to be fun for me because it was always nice to go and take them and tell them,
Yeah. But what was
you know,
very
you get
unfortunate
magic.
is every time we said, well, from Trinidad and Tobago, they would be like, where in Jamaica? Like
Yes,
people
that was a
didn't
problem.
know,
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
us. People didn't know where we were
yeah,
from. That was a
yeah.
big. All of that was part of what drove me to really continue in the culture and arts and really try to get Trinidad on the map from that point of view. And so to come back to Rose, actually, we didn't start working with Rose till we did Calypso at Dirty Gems. So we had moved back to
Right.
Trinidad at that time, and we decided to recreate to do this documentary on the old calypso and we showed the theme dirty calypso dirty gems because dirty gems was
Yeah,
a
that
club.
was a nice one. That was a good one. Yeah.
It was great, and we really did. I mean, some of the things. So Zen was the big nightclub back when this film was
Yes.
released, and we did the opening night. I don't know if John you were there, you remember, but
No, I
basically
wasn't there. No.
we
Yeah.
recreated Zen this whole dirty gems feel and the old cars driving up with the artists and so on. So that is really when Rose and I started to connect, and I will never forget.
Okay.
One day in a dressing room, she's just like, Lorraine, you want to manage me? And I was like, sure, okay, why not? Yes, of course. I was so honored, like And she said, and
Wow.
that's how it started. And it's about 20 years now. Huh? It's quite a while because time does go on.
Yes, 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 yes. So, I mean, in context of, I remember when, tell us a bit about the award that you got, because I think that triggered a whole heap of, I would say, nationalism. I would say Tobagonianism, a kind of, people in Tobago felt proud that this lady came from Tobago, but still, it was still a national feeling that someone was able to achieve that. So we heard, and going back in my mind, go way back to Harry Belafonte and everybody that made Calypso. I don't think beyond that, I know in the Caribbean we've had Kevin Litter, we've had Arrow, we've had different people at different times. But I don't know, there was something about what Calypso Rose did in her time at the age. So tell us a bit about that, because I think a lot of people missed the real significance of that for Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, I think a lot of people were taken by surprise because it's almost like these elder Calypsonians, it kind of feels that they're living on their past glory in a way, like the same songs and they come and we love them, but they sing the same songs and we always wanted to sing San Fernando and, so it was
Right.
like they represent something, but at the same time, the youth don't connect really. They just know them as, oh, my parents listen to that. So what happened there was quite exceptional. And again, it's all serendipity and how things are connected. I hope you're still hearing me because we have a lot of rain right now, so I don't know if that's
No,
affecting
no,
you.
we're
We're still
hearing you.
hearing you
You go
clearly,
ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is a great story. So I was working on Bazodi, the film Marshall that
Yeah.
we did with
Yeah.
Marshall. Right. So working on this film, um, Rose had already been signed to Because, this record label in France, through Jean Michel. And we have to give Jean Michel Gibert a lot of credit here because he
Right.
really had
Right.
been pushing at the door for years, trying to, break this thing, this music. And they had signed Calypso Rose, but they weren't very they didn't really know what, because it's a very trendy young label. They have Major Lazer and these kind of people, so they weren't too sure what to do. But they felt that the guy who runs it has a nose, like he really has a thing. So they signed her, and then they also on the label is a guy called Manu Chao. Manu Chao is a huge French artist
Yeah.
from back in
Yeah. Yeah.
the 90s, revolutionary,
Yeah.
clandestino. He's never done a commercial, totally pure. And basically, he was still living on his big album that he had done like 10 years
Right.
ago.
Right.
So the record label reached out to us and said, why doesn't Marshall invite him to Trinidad and let him, maybe they might get to do something together, Marshall and Manu Chao, right? They might have a spark and whatever. So Manu comes, we invite him, and he comes to Trinidad. Marshall is very busy with Mabazuri, so they really
Of
don't have
course.
much to connect. And Calypso Rose is here, and Jean-Michel decides, okay, I'm going to take Manu down to meet her. And this guy walks around with his little guitar. He plays his little guitar, his ukulele, ukulele all the time.
Right.
So
Right. Ukulele.
my
Yeah.
Rose, and they sit down and he starts to play ukulele, Rose starts to sing,
Mm-hmm.
and they right
Mm-hmm.
away they connected like this. And basically they went back to France. Rose had already done this album, which she did with Cobertown in Canada. I don't know if
Right.
you're
Right. Right. Yeah.
some great people. And this guy from Belize, I'm trying to remember his name, Ivan Duran. So she had an album. They were still figuring out, trying to know what to do. And Manu Chao took the album and reproduced some of the songs and gave it
Ah.
that and this is the album that went platinum and that sold over
Okay. Okay.
100,000 copies. So this too, is really important to see. There's some big lessons here. Rose, to do the promotion of this album, she moved to France for 3-4 months.
Wow.
She lived in a hotel.
Right.
Like,
Right.
are some younger artists, are they ready to do that? You don't, like,
Right.
have to,
Yes.
you have to make. she was performing all the shows she did in those 3-4 months were promo shows. So she was hardly paid. You know, it was like a minimum fee.
Right, right.
All these are the sacrifices that she made. She did all these TV shows, she did all these interviews, and and it built and built and built, and she became a phenomenon in France because people connected with her story of this elderly woman who, with this comeback, who's making this comeback now, who Manu Chao, who they adore, has, you know, taken under his wing because this trendy record label. So all the graphics were really, you all can remember, and still up to today, all her
Yeah,
graphics.
I remember. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
she took off. It took off. It sold. And in a time, and this is phenomenal too, John, in a time when CDs don't sell.
Yes,
Most
CD, yeah, correct.
physical CDs.
Yeah, yeah.
But
You
that
know,
just tells you the market.
yeah, you recall the Buena Vista Social Club in Cuba? All the guys there only became popular in the 80s. I mean, late 70s and 80s. And I mean, it was funny how their career just took off after that. And then they found themselves performing as living artists. And I think in the case of Rose, she had two benefits in that she had the earlier life, and then she was able to make that resurgence again. Now, in thinking about that, and I think your points, I really hope that a number of the younger persons who would obviously have an opportunity to see this could connect with what you just said. But I have another question for you. What is the succession that we can find in terms of how can people piggyback on what happened to Rose here? Because you just asked a very important question. What about the artists? I mean, I'm at Music TT, and part of the problem every time we have people come, do you have a catalog? Do you have a catalog of songs? Can you really go ahead? It's the same question you just asked. Can you go away for 6 months, stay away from your family, promote? And I think those are relevant things. I mean, what are your thoughts on the succession plan here?
Well, I think Rose has definitely opened the door. I mean, we get asked all the time, who's next? Present us people.
Right.
Like Michelle is always telling me, like, who is it? Who is it? I mean, I work with Nyla Blackman as well, of course.
Right, right.
And last year we took her to Paris. Rose had this show at the Olympia, which is an amazing historical concert hall. And we took Marshall came, and then we took Nyla. And what we did while she was there, actually, we had organized an acoustic showcase for her with some record label people, and just to introduce her and start to put out there. So basically, people are looking to see who's next. That's for sure.
You know? Right.
Because we're all aware of, like, Rose has, I mean, we hope many years still to perform, but at the same time, she's tired, and she doesn't want to record new music. Really, go in studio.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, 80, tired.
Yeah, well, I mean, but she has a good legacy of songs. Recently, I think you had something, I saw it on your face. I always see it on your face.
No. I'm just really enjoying the stories and the history. I think I would have more questions when we come down to the events at Shaw Park. But this is really very interesting. I was really thinking when you were talking about whether or not younger artists are really willing to make that sacrifice, because at that age, to move to France, a completely new environment, the younger people that just aren't even willing to make a transition like that. That is really, really significant. She's definitely a pioneer in so many ways.
Yeah. Well, what you can do, Reese.
Let me just add.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Sorry, because there is a new album. So although I said she doesn't want to record music and all that, but she does have a new album. Actually, it was supposed to release in April this year for her 80th, but they decided to hold it back. They held it back. And interestingly enough, but I can't say it now, but Jean-Michel was just saying, you see how life works? We held back the album. I was disappointed, but this person is now on the album. So we got 2 huge features.
Okay, good.
holding it back. So in life,
Right.
what I tell people even during this time that's so hard, like what are the opportunities? Like let's not look at everything like it's a stop, because there are things still happening. I mean, I have
Yeah.
generated
Yeah. Yeah.
so much work in this period, and I'm sure many creatives have been too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it has opened opportunities and it has shown us how lazy we were to.
yes,
I mean, our creative juices have just gone crazy. I have a new album working on actually.
exactly.
Almost 90%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just that's what it does. It gives you so much time that you have to find yourself in a new way. Yeah. What you can do is say maybe show the clippings and then let's segue to Show Park and the event. Yeah.
Okay. So the pictures that we have are primarily from the 2017 event. This would have been commemorating when she would have won that award. Shadow was alive and there at the event, prominently featured with her as well.
Okay, right, right. Yeah, well, this was a big event for Tobago. You saw people up on the front of the stage. Actually, I really enjoyed this show, actually. Really enjoyed this one. Yeah, I remember this girl when she came up and so on.
Mhm.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
was
And what
nice.
was that?
This was nice. What's that?
Wasn't that when Shaw Park had just basically opened, or when did you all
Yeah.
No,
open?
we opened in 2015.
Scene.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
all
so we didn't just open. No, we had several events before that. We've opened since 2015. This is actually our fifth year, but it's actually
right.
a non-year because this year actually, after Carry Festa last year, we have not had another event there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and this year absolutely no event.
Yeah.
The COVID changed the whole world, and that's what brought up these kinds of shows because
Yeah.
we have found that just doing these kinds of programs, Tobagonians suddenly realize how many activities they have missed in Tobago and the variety and diversity of events also. So, and again, for persons in Trinidad and the wider world, that all this is happening in Tobago. So it has raised the awareness and the visibility of the venue. And so this is why it's important. But go ahead, Risa. You wanted to talk about this show and the significance of Shopa.
Well,
I think, yeah, go ahead.
no, because I know that Lorraine, we've had several shows. It wasn't just the one in 2017, but one in 2018 and 2019 as well. In terms of, I know that you would have been the primary person in terms of coordinating these events. What was it like utilizing the facility, working with the team, in comparison to the many venues that you would have had to utilize around the world?
Oh, well, it's always a pleasure working with Shaw Park. You all are super organized and, on point. And nothing seems to be a problem, even when things not going exactly, we still manage to figure it out. And John or somebody,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Glenda
yeah,
or somebody
that's an important point.
to, yeah, to give a
That's an
hand.
important point.
People are
Yeah.
always ready to support and give a hand and make it work. I mean, different instances. I'm trying to remember. I think that 2017 show actually was yet done that year too was Anthony Bourdain was in Tobago, and his
Yes,
Correct.
crew
I
had
did the
come to
interview on
Shaw
the
Park and had
beach.
filmed that
Yeah.
show. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I
that
remember
show
that. I
actually
remember
that
that. Yeah.
yeah in the Anthony Bourdain on Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
No, Shaw Park has really been great. I mean, we've done, and I mean, I want to say this, like we can't do a rose every year we did Tobago because you can't do rose in Trinidad and not Tobago because Tobago is the home. And
Yeah, yeah.
actually, I'm going to let out a little birdie here. So besides the new album that's coming, I've been working feverishly over this period on a limited series for Netflix on the life of Her Majesty Calypso Rose
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
that's good. That's good.
from Bethel, Tobago to the stages of the world. I mean, she was the
Yeah.
oldest artist to perform at Coachella. She has so many landmarks. And what is so interesting about this story is when I sat down and started to really put it together, it spans, 80 years, but those are the 80 formative years of Trinidad and Tobago as a country, as an identity, and the Caribbean, because it goes through, like, she was born in 1940, so it goes through our independence, it goes through Caribbean immigration, because she migrated to New York, her battle as a woman, it goes through illness, because her battle with cancer, she was raped, there's so many stories in there
Yep.
that are relevant today for women and for the Caribbean. So I'm quite excited about it because we have very good, so far I've started to pitch it and the feedback has been really good. So
Yeah. Those are the kinds of stories that are going to make, really for posterity. I don't know if you know, but part of
and
the
important that
Tobago House,
yeah.
the Tobago House of Assembly is currently, I'm actually on a committee with monuments because part of what is being thought of, again, birdies, can't talk too much about it, but the idea is to celebrate three of our musical icons, Shadow, Lord Nelson, and Rose. We are actually, Risa is also involved in this project. We have a company called the Friends of Lord Nelson that's working on honoring him. He's going to be 90 next year, July. Yeah,
Wow.
and he's still performing. He's 89 this year, just had last month. And we have a committee. The guy who is with Sunshine Awards in New York, he's on it too, and a few other persons, because we have a whole weekend. We had it planned for this year, but then COVID came. So we're going to his 90th birthday, and we're asking the Lord to preserve his life so that at least we can celebrate that 90th birthday. I think it is so important. People like Rose, well, Shadow is gone, but it's important posthumously. We are going to celebrate their life and pay tribute. And I know those are the three icons in the musical genre that the Tobago House of Assembly is looking at celebrating. You'll hear more about it shortly, I'm sure.
That's
Because
good.
the idea
That's
is
good.
again in each area, in Plymouth, Bethel, Lekoto, we try to put something that's symbolic of and the memory of the person, Even in the case of those who are alive, living, and in the case of those who died posthumous. So that's coming. Two
Well, that
birdies
is
out the
great.
hat.
Very good. Because the thing is, and I keep telling this, and now I see that tourism is and the arts, but it's like these are tourism products. Like people
Of
would
course,
travel
of course.
to Tobago to see the statue in Bethel of Rose. These are things that, and we don't understand yet properly how to market these things. And this is like, this is the new tourism. Is not just about going to the beach. It's also
Yep,
about
yep,
showing
yep.
your history, your culture, your arts, and so on. And like people like me at my age now, I don't want to go and lie on a beach. I want to do meaningful things. So that we have to start. We have, we have to start looking more in that direction. And we have so
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
We have
yeah.
so much.
So I think we have covered so much just in this short conversation. It's amazing. Problem is we can talk for hours. You know that, Lorraine. Um, I want us to touch a bit on COVID because I know in our preamble we spoke a bit
Yeah.
about it in terms of how do we, as the creatives, because that's our challenge. How do we deal with this? I'll give you an example. I started back 2 weeks ago with my band playing at Karawak. And then we played
Mhm.
2 weeks, and then suddenly we heard no in house dining. So just when we were going and people were coming out, and boom, we have to stop again. And it's like, how do you navigate this? Really. I mean, I know we shared some thoughts, but let's use this forum to articulate that some more. I mean, you had
Well,
some thoughts. Go ahead.
yes, well, yeah, and interestingly enough, I've been talking with quite a few creatives because I've been working with Simon on a program called Hands at Help that will be airing in next week Saturday, actually on TV6, and just talking to creatives about how they're coping, and it's really been hard. Like yesterday, I came home, I had spent the whole day interviewing people, and I came home feeling, gosh, uh, that I'm almost feeling lucky that I've been able to keep it positive. And one of the things that I've been doing a lot, and this is what I mentioned earlier, is to find how to diversify and be flexible and pull on your resources. So as what you said earlier, how you did a whole album. I've been writing. I actually signed up for a course online how to write. So I've
Right,
been and because I want to write scripts, I'm always producing. I want to come more to the top of the line now and write the script
right,
or even direct. Who knows? But
right.
it's about pushing that envelope. And unfortunately, actually, we part of this program we came to Tobago and I interviewed two people there. One was Zadie Edwards, and the other one is
Mhm.
a pan. His name escapes me now. He won the competition, the virtual competition
Gerard
on
Balfour.
yes,
Is
right.
it Gerard
So
Balfour?
I think so. Anyway, both of them said that they formed that their creativity they've been very creative during this period. And yes, it is depressing because they were supposed to travel and do this and that, but at the same time, they were staying positive and trying to be meaningful and to do relevant things. And I think that's very encouraging, from the youth because I know how hard it is when the life that you were living is taken away from you. In our we are very spoiled in the entertainment world. I mean, we
Oh
live
yeah,
on
yeah,
entertainment. We
yeah.
all now, so everybody getting ready for Labor Day, well, for Notting Hill and Labor Day and thing, and our artists performing all over. So we had a culture that was very spoiled. So this obviously will hit us harder in a way than other places. But I think, and I hate the word new normal because I don't think what we're doing is normal at all. But I, I do think that we are going to come out of this. We're learning a lot of lessons, and I think our industry will be better for it.
Yeah. The project you're doing, is it COVID related or it's not?
But
The project with the
the
interviews.
thing with hands at help. Yeah, well, yes, it's basically to see how COVID has affected the creative industry and
Oh,
the
okay.
creative economy.
Okay. Right, 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 right,
It
right, right.
wasn't a
Okay.
legitimate-
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't, yeah. So
Yeah,
very
I mean,
interesting, and go ahead.
yeah, I wanna support you on that thought about flexibility and diversifying because I think those are the two things. I think it's also a time to retool. And I think like what you just talked about writing, I think it's an excellent time to retool. I think it's a time for. I just saw an ad just before I came on um, with the Complete Caribbean asking Tobago hoteliers to start looking at the whole concept of digitalization now and getting ready for when tourism opens again. It will be a smoother flow in terms of being up to date with what is trendy and current. And I thought that interesting because that's like an appeal to them to start thinking that way. If you were thinking those things were bad, do some retooling, some new growth mindset to understand now is the time you have to do it. If you don't do
Yeah,
it now, you could be lost when it's really open. So apart from the creative thing, I think that's great, diversifying and retooling. And I think it's also, the other one that I am strong on, said this in an interview yesterday, is it's the time for collaboration.
mhm,
There's no way you can exist now without understanding we have to retool, we have to collaborate, sorry, and work with one another to really strengthen it. And that's what it is. And when I say collaborate. Like my last project, I'm collaborating with people in Jamaica, in New York. I don't care where it is. I think this is the time to look and see how best we can get the best by wherever the best is, because I think it's now one
Yeah.
flat earth, that
I
we exist in.
I think COVID has really helped us realize that we can connect with everybody because it's brought the online community closer together. So, simple things like yoga classes. Like now, if you're doing it online, somebody in England can attend your yoga class. While before, if you
Yes.
would, it's only the people in the area, and or somebody from Rio Claro or whatever could attend the class, and before she could never
Correct.
come because she couldn't drive all the way to Port of Spain. So it really has it's changing
Yes.
the parameters, but it's making the world even more a bigger playing field, like because you can really connect
Yeah. Yeah.
with
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. Connect. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Lauren, this has been nice. Reese, I don't know. Lauren has given us so many thoughts here today. I can talk with Lauren for 3 hours. You know that, right?
I
I
know
could just
that.
change topics. I could talk on all kinds of stuff. But I know, Lauren, I want personally, I want to thank you for this conversation. This has been really refreshing. And it's nice to think and talk with somebody like yourself. And again, congrats to you and Jean Gilbert and the work you all are doing with Rose. And looking forward to the album, actually. I'm looking forward to that. Ricia?
Yeah, you're gonna be very excited when you hear this surprising news.
Yeah.
I would just want to reiterate Mr. Arnold's sentiments. This conversation has truly just been a gem, very refreshing. I'm certainly very inspired. Hearing so much more about her life and how she's adapted and reinvented herself and the challenges that she's had to overcome and the fact that she's still just pushing barriers, gaining new grounds. That's really just very interesting. Thank you so much, Lorraine, for joining us. It's truly been a
Welcome.
pleasure. Thank you. I think that this has been most fitting for our 10th episode, just wrapping up this first
Yes.
season
It was
of
nice. It was
Throwbacks
good.
with SPC. Thank you so much to our viewers. If it is that you've missed any of our episodes from this first season, you could go back to our YouTube channel or Facebook page. All of the episodes are there. We have new and fresh things coming in the coming weeks and months. One is a grassroots talent show. If it's a situation where you've not heard about that, you could get that information on our Facebook and Instagram pages. So thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, Miss Arnold. Thank you to our viewers once again for watching. Have a great day.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye.
Bye bye.